Well, howdy do everyone, and welcome back to the ranch. Thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it. Hope you all had a really good Mother's Day weekend. Mother's Day can be a bit of a complicated day, as you well know. For young mothers with new babies and young families, it can be a very precious, joyful day. For mothers who have lost children or spouses, or for people who've recently lost their mothers, it can be a very difficult day. Like I said, it's kind of a mixed bag, but nevertheless, I hope your Mother's Day was a great day. I hope your Mother's Day weekend was a wonderful time for all of you. As you well know, I usually try to put videos out on Thursdays or Fridays, and this week, Saturday rolled around, I still hadn't put a video out because I did not like what I had made. I kept working with it, kept tweaking it, and I just could not get it to go. And in an effort to save it, I went back through a bunch of files just looking for something magic that I could pump into this video and make it halfway decent, and I never found that. In the process, though, of looking through this file on Saturday, I did stumble onto this picture right here. It just kind of caught my eye, and I just stared at it for a bit. I used this picture a few years ago in a video I made about kindness, and I started thinking about all the difficulties these poor people must face every day in Africa compared to the difficulties, the so-called difficulties that we face here every day. But I had a couple of videos and some other pictures that went along with this one particular picture, and I started looking at them, and there's a couple of things I noticed that were a little unusual, and that is all the rest of, and these are Nigerians, and all the rest of the Nigerians in this picture seem to be well clothed, well fed, and pretty happy and healthy, especially compared to this poor little guy right here. And what I also noticed that was even more disturbing was they were pretty much ignoring him. But nevertheless, I was hell-bent on salvaging a video, so I skipped on by that file and went on about my business. And sadly, the video I was trying to save, as they say in the business, wound up on the cutting room floor. So Saturday afternoon, I just decided to forget the video, put my energies into something more worthwhile, and get on with my life. And the next day was Sunday morning, a glorious day. It was Mother's Day. We went to church, and they had 18 young families with their 18 new babies all gathered down at the front of the church. And they basically promised to raise their children in a wholesome, godly manner. And we, the congregation, basically promised to do everything we could within our power to help them achieve their goal. But it was really cool seeing all those cute little babies, little fat babies, well clothed, well fed, and well loved. And you know what was going through old Dr. Lee's head while I was watching all these little precious babies and their little precious families. Yep, it kept bugging me. But this was Mother's Day. I wasn't going to let that drag me down. So we went and had a wonderful lunch with Matt and Meredith and the kids, and then later we met with Drew and Chelsea for the rest of the day. And after that, we talked with Allie for quite some time and just had a wonderful Mother's Day. My wife had a wonderful, wonderful Mother's Day. So turned out to be a good day, and that was Sunday. And later Sunday night, guess what started coming back to my head? So I thought, okay, tomorrow I'm going to figure this out. But Monday morning, yesterday morning, I got up. I was a man with a mission. I took this picture and started doing some Googling, and I found out that it was made in 2016. This is a little Nigerian boy. He was outcast, excommunicated, ostracized by his family and much of the community in which he lived, because they had figured out that he was a witch.
No one is feeding the child?
Yeah, no mother, no father.
And at the time of this picture, he had been abandoned for 8 months. He was naked, he was confused, he was starving, he was sick, he was full of parasites, especially worms. And honestly, if you look at him, you know, I'm a veterinarian, it didn't take me long, it doesn't take anybody long to see that this little boy was dying, and he was not going to last much longer. And folks, this is one of those situations where two completely different worlds collide. First, you have a young, starving 2-year-old baby that's been abandoned for 8 months. And you mix that up with a young Danish girl working in a clothing store who one day gets an idea that instead of enjoying the easy life, she wants to give that up and devote and dedicate the rest of her days on this planet to humanity. And now, folks, enter Anja Lovén. She had become a Danish social worker, now living in Nigeria. And she scooped up this little baby out of the crowded and uncaring masses and took him home with her. And I'd like for you all to notice the tattoo she wears on the fingers of her left hand. If you look real closely, you can see hope. And that's what she named this little baby. And it wasn't long after that that Anja and her husband David adopted Hope into their family. They already had one little boy just about the same age as Hope. But Anja's compassion and kindness did not end there. She and David established an organization for these poor little waifs whose parents had labeled them as witches. And doing my Google searches as best I could find out, the last accounts showed that they had at least 180 children in their little orphanage. Anja also became an activist for children's rights, rescuing and protecting children accused of witchcraft, which is obviously pretty prevalent in Nigeria. She also established programs to educate the people of these countries about the dangers of superstitions. And I will have links to all the nonprofit organizations that she and David have established for children's welfare down in the description of this video. And with Mother's Day fresh on our minds, it's interesting and important to realize that Anja was already a mother in the sense of the word that we use and expect today. But like Cheryl Donovan says, mother is something you do. It's not who you are. And Anja was a perfect example of being that mother too. Mothering is a state of mind. Mothering is a state of heart. Mothering is something we all can do. I just wonder what that little girl working in that clothing store somewhere in Denmark all those years ago would do if someone told her at that time that someday she would be known as the world's most inspiring person. All it took was a little compassion. All it took was a little kindness. All it took was a little mother. Folks, that's it from out here on the ranch today. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you all, and I want you to always remember to love you. Bye-bye now.
Now, the rest of the story.